Welcome back to Ni no Kuni 2. So now that
So the
Roland,
president
what
running
are
over
you
his
looking
life
at?
choices.
Roland, are you looking at the
What the hell's
title?
going wrong with his
Wow,
life?
that's a nice attention to detail. Roland actually looks down at the waystone like, what the fudge am I looking at?
yeah,
Alright, if there's nothing important going on, Perry, why wanna tell kind of like the development of this game, like with which specific money this game was made?
which specific money? I don't.
I mean, in a sense that after the first Ni no Kuni
Oh.
released for
Yeah.
success.
Oh,
in the
that-
West,
yeah, sure, might
Nino
as well.
always wanted to do a sequel, but Level 5 did not have enough budget back
Well,
then.
what happened is back when the original Ni no Kuni came out. Remember, it was both a DS game and a PS3 game to cover both bases. The PS3 version in particular being Hino's personal favorite, since it allows him to actually use the glory associated as that give Momose's artwork true justice. However, the original Ni no Kuni bombed in Japan. So and Hino did say before the release that he wanted to make it a franchise instead of just a one-time thing. However, those plans kind of had to be put to rest because, well, the game didn't do it. However, in a surprise turn of events, when the game reached our shores, it was a big hit that surpassed Level 5's expectations, especially in America. So Hino decided, okay, we actually have an audience for this now. And guess what? We have this other franchise involving yokai, I don't know if you've heard of it, that gave us a shit ton of money, so we can actually afford to make a sequel to this now.
In Europe.
Well, yeah, Yokai Watch is very successful in Europe as well.
Dwibs, Yokai Watch also did make money in America, too.
Not as much.
That much though, from what I heard.
Not that much, but whatever. The point is,
Part of the I think that's part of the reason why they got getting a cheaper voice cast in the
on
anime.
the whole, Yokai Watch was very successful. Or let's just say worldwide.
Basically,
okay?
here's the deal. Here's the deal.
America's
When it
only
comes
one
to
country, so it's not like it puts that much of a dent in worldwide sales.
But when
It's
it
a
comes
big
to
country.
honestly, just when it comes to localization, they have to look at them all overseas. Actually, I mean, here's the thing, Dwibs. When it comes to Japan, they basically consider two different factors: how did it sell in Japan, and how did it sell everywhere else. Like they never look like the U.S. as separate to Europe, except in some cases, like maybe with Leighton or Inazuma 11. And even still, both countries still got them. It's just America.
I wonder how that
Inazuma
works
11
for-
ones
Hino himself said this in an interview when asked about this. He literally said, I think we have to look at the West in two ways. There's America and there's Europe. We've actually been very successful in Europe. So Hino is aware of that particular distinction.
I wonder how that would. I wonder how that would work for a Western-made game. Like, do Western developers think, right? How well did the game sell in Europe and Australia and everything?
That's the thing, Dwibs. Western developers tend to think differently than Japanese
Also
developers.
depends,
in that
Dwibs. For
sense.
example,
Oh, yeah.
Ubisoft is partly a French company, so they're also thinking on European terms. But anyway, the point me and Pedro were coming across was that thanks to the success, both monetary and audience-wise, of Yokai Watch, Level 5 gained a huge amount of notoriety and also money, which in turn, partially at least used for funding actually this sequel, which was a pet project of his.
Originally there was an RPG that was a plan of making an RPG that would be playable and have cross-play in all consoles called Wonderflick. However, when that came to term, he canceled that game so he could actually make the game that he actually wanted to make, this one. But anyway, yeah, just go back to the tutorial stuff. Okay, speaking about the harms band, remember how Aranella said in the previous part that thanks to the harms band, we can draw the weapon's full potential? Here's what that comes into the gameplay. Basically, each of the 3 weapons you can equip on your character have something called the Zing Gauge. What is the Zing Gauge? Basically, every time you hit someone with your short-range weapon, its Zing Gauge will increase from 0 to 100%. Basically, it's 2 things. One, the higher the percentage, the more damage you'll make. Also, when you reach 100% and you use one of your skills, like let's say a fire spell, for example, using a fire spell when your current weapon is in 100% Zing Gauge will add extra power to that spell. So preserving your weapon's Zing Gauge in 100% and maybe save it for bosses or something like that is a good idea.
I like how it sounds like a zing.
It is Zing. Z-I-N-G.
Like a sound effect, Jova.
Because I thought that you were pronouncing it
Zing!
like Zingate, because, zing, gate sounds
Oh,
like...
I think I'm
Zing!
gonna press our
Jova,
trigger.
it's the
Okay.
G-I-N-T-G.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jova.
Right. Arms bands are really very precious. Just be careful not to use any that Aranella tells you not to, okay?
In fact, here's another one. Switching weapons. Oh, never mind. I was just... you can switch weapons in the game in 3 different ways. There's automatic, which basically what it means is that it's always switching to whatever weapon has the highest percentage on your arsenal. You can have semi-automatic, meaning the weapon will change accordingly depending on when its percentage drops. Or you can have full manual, where it only switches when you specifically want to, and you can change and you can switch weapons freely with the D-pad.
So customizable.
Indeed.
Of course.
Shira, if you don't mind.
I think she's verbed.
No, it's fine.
Oh, sorry. Thanks. I will.
The point is, she's telling us to be careful. Don't worry, it's not important.
Evan, this is for you.
Oh, here you go. Here's the explanation I was talking about earlier.
Evan's
You were saying
Essentials.
Evan's Essentials.
Basically, he hasn't been fighting with us because he doesn't have his weapons yet, but they're in that bag.
It's not exactly the best quality, but it's all I could throw together at such short notice.
There you go.
It should be enough to help you get by for now.
Hence why she had all that extra arms band. She was trying to throw together all that stuff all the useful stuff that she could before she got to Evan, so she could properly equip and stuff like that.
I put an arms band in there for you too.
There you go.
Oh.
How thoughtful of you, Nella.
She's gotta be
As long
being
as
this
I let
governess.
you, I'll try to see that you don't need to use it.
I don't like the sound of that line.
We saw the trailers. They kind of spoiled
We saw the
yeah,
trailer.
yeah. No, I know.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, if it makes you feel any better,
Wait,
unlike
I came
unlike the first game, in which Oliver's death was basically his entire Oliver's mom's death was his entire motivation of his character. I don't know.
Guys, we all know Aranella's not gonna die.
Hold on. Let me explain, though. Aranella's death is indeed one of the major motivations for what Evan's main goal will be later on. However, it's not the only goal. There will be extra motivations attached to it that will come clear eventually.
Also, Pedro, she said to him to never give up.
Well, in here it works because of the context.
Take notes,
guys. She likes being alive. Why should we assume that means she'll be dead?
She likes being alive.
I love the
She likes being
mountain.
alive.
Alright.
Sorry.
Shira?
Not here, luckily. Now's our chance.
Fortunately, the Black Knight is not in this particular room, so we're fine.
Look at all those soldiers!
Let's slaughter them for no reason.
We actually can do that.
It's standard procedure in a situation like this.
Nah, screw that. Let's go the genocide way.
Yeah, much just like with the previous stealth section, you can choose to just fight them all off if you want. However, unless you're cheating the game, I do not recommend doing that.
On the far right side of the courtyard.
Jova, you wanna have a bad time?
Well,
Yeah, I'm
Alright.
not the one doing
I know my way around a.
Bro.
I know my way around a computer.
Hold on. Here we go.
why
Tapping
not?
R1 will unleash quick, continuous ranged attacks. And if you've played Rogue Galaxy, you're familiar with this.
Yep.
While holding, and Dark Cloud. The Dark Cloud games also had this.
Don't mention Dark Cloud, damn it.
The amount of damage inflicted will be dictated by a combination of the attacking characters. Basically, their stats. And there you go. See, thanks to the arms band, as long as you have MP, you have bullets. Thanks, arms band.
So how do you replenish them? By performing melee attacks. Okay, the game.
There you go. Just like in Kingdom Hearts, you replenish your MP by doing melee attacks.
Well, depends. In the first one, yeah. The second one, it was regenerating on its own.
True.
Which I prefer the system of first game. In that term, I mean.
Yeah,
especially for I really didn't like the fact that in Kingdom Hearts 2 the healing spell consumed all your MPs immediately.
Yeah.
Again, it was made for, limitations and stuff, but eh.
There's limitations and then there's just
Also,
both. But,
Evan
hey,
is completely intimidating. Look at that. Truly a fearsome leader.
I mean, he's got a tiny knife.
Don't worry,
Two opens.
don't worry, Teo. He will turn into a capable leader as the story
Well,
moves
that's
on.
what the story is for, to
In
actually
fact,
make him grow.
in fact, it's something we mentioned Dark Cloud because this kind of takes some elements from Dark Cloud 2, but more on that later.
Yeah, well, both Dark Cloud games, but we're getting that will come into play in Chapter 4.
Just an ordinary room.
Or is
Oh,
it?
you're wrong, Roland. It's not just an ordinary room. Shire, if you mind.
An ordinary room with a secret door? There's a switch around here somewhere.
There should be.
Where's the Nintendo Switch?
There's
Yeah,
a
the
switch.
Royals like
There should be a
Nintendo
switch
Switch.
somewhere.
It's the Royal Nintendo Switch.
And of course, it's in the bookcase.
It's the
Of
library.
course.
Shire?
I've never used it myself, but I believe it's hidden in the bookcase.
Isn't that the obvious place, though?
What's next? A portrait with the eyes that spy on you?
Or a gargoyle that comes to life when you're
There
not
is.
paying
Yeah.
attention? Gosh! Look at that! Wow, he talks
Thank
like,
you.
he talks a bit like
He's
the
like
protagonist
something
of
out
the
of a
first
movie.
Ni no Kuni game. Interesting. Of course, he dresses like him too later. And oh, look, he's got a tail too.
Hino specifically said in behind the scenes videos, for those who haven't seen it, you can see our commentaries of it, that he wanted to tell a story with two main characters, an adult one and a child one, so that we can have the story be told from a child's perspective and an adult perspective. And so that's what Roland is for.
Not just that, that's ingenious because that you can cover a much wider audience in terms of which gamer relates
All
to
right,
what
now,
character.
all right, now
Yeah.
now it's time for a more heavier scene. So get ready, guys.
Noah, why would Mazinger start a rebellion? Is it because I became king?
Maybe
Or a
yes.
small one.
Shire?
Evan?
Oh, Evan. Yeah.
I doubt it. In my experience, these beings are never quite that simple.
Yeah.
Don't we all wish they could be?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Aranella, I couldn't help noticing a certain species divide between the two sides in this conflict.
Yeah, we'll get back to that.
They're sticking their hand right in that jar, aren't they?
Shiroi, I can tell.
I'd expect nothing less than Level 5.
Shiroi, I can tell you this: Hino definitely saw Zootopia.
Also, she has fish earrings.
Basically, Teo, obviously, knowing what we know about Hino, Teo,
Oh, that's the elephant in the room right there. You know.
Oh, here we go.
relations between the Grimalkin and the mice have never been entirely civil, even in the alternate universe of Ni no Kuni 1.
They're like a cat and mouse.
Well, literally, almost.
This is where the more political approach compared to the first game comes into play.
King Leonard did his best to heal the long-standing rift between the two, but
But
Reality ensued, yeah. Let me guess. Things didn't go so well.
yeah.
He even tried hiring a rodent as one of his most trusted lieges. Father.
Oh.
you'll have to forgive him. He's... No,
It's all still very wrong.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. So it took with a kid who
Can
just
imagine.
recently lost his dad. What happened to the mom, I wonder?
We will see the mom in a picture, but she's not part of the story because she's died a long time ago.
Of course. It's a fairy
By
tale.
the
She's
way,
gotta
then-
die.
There's something I have to tell you.
I am your mother.
Well, she is his surrogate mother, kind of. So yeah.
Oh,
Your
God.
father. Chancellor Mosinger poisoned him.
Dun dun dun.
What a surprise.
What?
You what, mate?
Well,
And I was voiced.
Poisoned him?
poor Evan's
No!
so innocent.
He died of an illness, Noah. A rare, untreatable illness.
Basically, that's what the public was told. Go ahead.
Not according to Mosinger's bodyguards. I convinced one of them to talk. They put it in his food, little at a time, so no one would suspect.
There you go,
wonder how
Debs.
you
This thing was
convinced him.
there you go. It was indeed planned for a long
wonder how
time.
she- I wonder how
it
she
makes
convinced-
more sense. It makes more sense that what
Well,
Hamlet
Debs,
did, indeed.
I'm considering her knife. She probably pointed the knife to his neck or
There you
something like
go,
that.
to make
No,
it
no,
look
no,
like
yeah.
huh?
Tell me what happened to his dad, or this knife will go where the sun don't shine.
Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
How could he?
How could this happen
Because
to
he's a
me?
dick.
We'll
I
get
know
that.
this must be hard, Evan, but we have to keep moving. Come on.
Yeah. Basically, Dwebs, here's what happened in your absence. Evan was asking Nella, why did he decide to start a rebellion? Is it because I became king? And what happened is Dwebs, Roland was like, oh, no, things are never that simple. And of course, Roland turned to ask Nella, Nella, I couldn't help but notice that there's a certain species divide in this conflict. So basically, for a long time, relationships between the...
Still go well, okay.
Yes. Relationships between the Grimalkin, aka the cats, and mice had never been entirely civil. Evan's dad has been trying to, patch things up, but, well, we all know how that turned out.
So, Pedro, I forgot if I asked this off screen, maybe...
I should explain this. Just like in Rogue Galaxy, every time you go into a battle, there's a blue line determining the battlefield. You want to run the battle? Just go straight to the line, and you'll be able to run for the battle. Go ahead.
Basically, no, my question was, unless it's spoilery stuff, do any other locations from the first game return, like, albeit altered?
No,
like in
only
this case,
Ding Dong Dell. Ding Dong Dell is the only returning location.
Oh, that's weird.
Hino wanted to really go back to the drawing board and start from scratch.
Well, I get it, but in that case, why...
Fan service.
Oh, okay, sure.
Fan service indeed.
I thought it would be a straight run for the exit once we made it down the sewers. Seems like things won't be quite that simple.
Fucking sewer
I will
levels.
say, I see where Tio's coming from. It's like, it feels like, well, while I can see why he didn't want this to be a sequel, this very well could have been a sequel, all things
My
considered.
guess is that Ding Dong Dell was one of the things that were stuck at the beginning of the event. There was the trailer and everything. But as the time went on, they had to change things, but they couldn't for this one because, it was in the first draft, so... I don't know.
That would make sense.
There's also the fact.
What do you mean?
There's also the fact that the original Ni no Kuni landed on a pretty conclusive note. There's no real need for a sequel, so he decided to just tell a whole new story in general.
Well, if we're going for the whole, we know that this is passed after, in different alternate versions of the world. But you can use the argument of if centuries pass, civilizations rise and fall anyway. So new age, new problems.
It could too. However, as it's going to become apparent later on, the lore of this Ni no Kuni heavily contradicts the lore of the original Ni no Kuni.
Sure.
This is clearly not the same world. I can tell you.
This actually reminds me of something else. At the time of this recording, anyway, aren't there story DLC episodes planned?
Yes. Those who bought the season pass can, for a cheaper price, acquire the 2 story expansions that are planned because there's going to be
which we don't know yet.
No, they're keeping that secret. We'll see exactly.
So who knows? Maybe they'll save some returning locations for those.
We'll see how things go. For now, we'll have to wait till level 5 dishes out some.
Anyway,
like I said, this is the game basically explaining what I said earlier. Basically, if you have 100% zing. And you have an FMP to use certain skill, you'll be able to use that skill to its maximum effect. And trust me, this becomes incredibly easy with bosses because every time you use a full-powered 100% Zing gauge skill, you get to literally take down the enemies and make them fall into the ground, which will allow you to get in some extra hits. So saving these particular special moves for bosses is incredibly inconvenient. I would not recommend wasting one of them in the normal enemies.
I see. Interesting.
Indeed, Roland.
While Roland is thinking, he said, "What the hell am I stumbled into?"
You seem to have a head for combat. Get a few more battles under your belt, and you'll learn even more skills soon enough.
Calling it now. He served in the army before going on to be president.
It kind of makes sense. Roland gives the vibe of the royal,
the presidential.
The royal figure that actually had mundane things like skirmish, for sports.
Funny you mentioned skirmishes, Teo.
We'll get into that in chapter 3.
We're having a lot of foreshadowing, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be a lot of parts in this playthrough because I'll be showing a shit ton of side quests because one of the big great qualities that I love about this game is the side quests and how fleshed out they are in terms of plot and in terms of world building. But we'll get to that as we go along. Anyway, here's another thing that's another big improvement of the first Ni no Kuni one. Exploration in this game is incredibly rewarding. Why? Even if there's no treasure chests, there's always shiny spots that have materials, which will be incredibly useful in crafting items, spells, and of course using to build stuff in the when you eventually start building your kingdom. So, and this comes into play in the world map as well. Exploring in this game is never 100% dull, because there's always something you'll be getting. Because thanks to those shiny spots, you'll always be getting stuff. Like even if you can't find a treasure chest, there's always going to the journey still will be worth it, because you'll be getting some shiny spots which will have materials. As a result, you'll always be succeeding at something when you're exploring. Exploration is never useless in this game.
You know, I always love that bit where the sewers are supposed to be the quote-unquote safer ways to go in, yet they're just as, if not more dangerous than up top. Like, okay, this sewer has the freaking undead just going around.
Well, in some cases it makes sense.
Well, remember, Java, we established in the previous part that that sorceress can spawn these zombies at will with her magic, so I'm pretty sure that's where they came from.
Shoot, though, I mean, I didn't know they could track us underground. Otherwise, I'd think that this is where the dead go to die.
Well, it's kind of implied, Java.
So yeah, if you see it... Sorry, go ahead.
So basically, Tio,
it
in
reminds
this
me of
case...
the Valley of Defilement.
So you're saying that in this case, hell is just a sewer?
More like in a sense of sewers were used for disposing corpses.
So yeah, if you see...
It's actually a thing that happened in a lot of medieval society. Go ahead, Pedro.
So yeah, if you see a shiny spot, get it, because those materials can be incredibly useful to build up stronger weapons earlier in the game and other stuff.
Now look at that! One of our first monsters are goos, totally not slimes.
Another thing taken from the first Ni no Kuni game is that every time you level up, your HP and MP will be healed.
Nice.
And just like in the original Ni no Kuni,
loaf of bread.
And just like in the original Ni no Kuni, the treasure chests are a big reference to the treasure chests of Dragon Quest VIII, which was also developed by Level 5. And just like in the original, you can move around even while you're getting the treasure chest item.
Mr. Roland, I'm kind of new to this stuff, but why was there about a freshly baked bread in a chest that's underground in the sewer?
Or Castlevania.
So wait, you're telling me that
playing this Japanese game told me that if you destroy walls, you find rusted pot rust.
But seriously though, that bed was freshly baked. Are you telling me that Mrs. Beakley left it there? Just happened to come by, freshly baked the bread, and thought, I'll lock it away in a chest for somebody to find.
Alright, you might as well explain that. The reason that treasure chest... Okay, here's what happens when you beat up enemies. They always sit on spoils. The yellow sacks are guilders. The green sacks stand for materials. And the treasure chests that they drop are equipment, armor, weapons, the sorts. And whenever the treasure chest that they drop is blue or even purple, basically there's various colors. It depends on how rare they are. Like the red ones are the slightly rare ones, the purple ones are the more rare ones, and there's even the red color. If it's a red color piece of equipment, that means it's an exceptionally rare drop.
Seems to be a sorry, go ahead.
The more you battle, the more chances you have of getting strong equipment. So battling is never a waste of your time, even when you're
grinding has its reward.
Not just that, Joe. Even if you're not grinding, even if the XP is terrible, like I said, you can always get some really good drops. And keeping up with the spirit of the original game, you will never get assaulted by enemies that are a waste of your time XP wise, because taking a cue from White Knight Chronicles, which was Level 5's PS3 franchise, every time the enemies are always in like this. If you're even level that they are, their in-game names will show as white, meaning they'll chase you, but they're at the level where you can beat it. If they show as red, that means they're over leveled, and it's recommended that you do not battle. So the game will give you a pre-warning.
But me being me, I go after them.
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
So if you do happen to go into a secret area, and trust me, it can happen. If you do take a detour and reach an area where you're underleveled, the game will let you know by having the monsters' titles being red. However, if the monster titles are blue, that means you're overleveled to that monster. So basically, it's easy. And here's an interesting thing: the blue-colored monsters, okay, the ones that will give you little XP, will not chase you. Meaning, once again, just like with the first Ni no Kuni and White Knight Chronicles, you will never go into a battle that's a waste of time.
Nice.
The gameplay refinements of this game are fantastic. Hino said in the balance that he actually said, looking at this progress, I actually find this game better than the original, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. The gameplay was incredibly refined with a battle system that is more fun to play while still keeping a good element of strategy to it. And the overall exploration has been refined to the point where it's never a waste of your time. You will never wait. This game is custom designed to waste as little of your time as possible. This is the anti-Revenant, basically.
I mean, that's a good mindset to have whenever you're making a sequel to anything. It's like, well, make it better than the original.
Yeah, level 5 specifically. Yeah, level 5 specifically took to heart the feedback they got from Western players for Ni no Kuni 1. They take so people didn't care much for the people didn't care much for the combat system because they didn't like that way we hybrids do stuff. Okay, we'll just go full action. People said, there were a lot of complaints about the partner AI in Ni no Kuni 1. Personally, I didn't mind the partner AI in Ni no Kuni 1. However, I can assure you, the partner AI in this game is fantastic. I would argue that the partner AI plays this game better than I do. So I can assure you that complaint will not exist in this game.
Looks deliberate to me. Which means they knew we'd come this way.
Oh, God dang it, the villains are too smart.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Alright, boys. And he brought the Black Knight with him. Crap.
Jesus. How sophisticated.
You sound so broken about it.
There's nowhere to run. Come quietly and you shall not suffer long.
I'll hold him off for as long as I can. Get out of here. Go.
Quick.
Where are we going?
Quick, go.
Just go. You are the kingdom's last.
True, yeah.
You cannot die here.
You can die later. Sorry.
Yeah. Please don't.
Oh, no.
Here we go. Here we go.
Mickey Mouse Knife's gonna kill us.
What? Check this out here. Check this out here.
Nella. Ding.
Her life is flashing before my eyes.
I'm sure she'll be fine. I'm sure she'll be fine.
Wait, should it be flashing before hers?
All right,
maybe that was actually solved from her perspective.
So yeah, as Aranella put it, Evan's life is way too precious, so we needed to get him out of there now. So.
No, we have to go back. We can still.
Can you fly, kid?
Oh boy, calm down. If we go back, we'll be captured for sure. And she'll have given her life for nothing.
Don't worry, Dwebs. Don't worry, Dwebs. She did not die off screen. You'll see her burning to death.
I know. I've seen it already.
Given her, you mean she's?
Kid, the trailers told us enough.
I think we have to assume that.
Well, she was outnumbered, yeah.
Yeah. Well, plus she was up against Mickey Mouse Knight.
Come on.
Ho ho! It's time for you to die, Aranella. Ho ho!
I mean, he's got the power of Disney on his side. That's pretty strong.
That sounds more like Goofy than Mickey.
Oh really? Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, we can.
By the hands of Disney.
You just don't disrespect the mouse.
I mean, seriously though, with how much Disney's been buying, it's only a matter of time before they acquire the 6th Soul Stone, which will be comics.
So first level 5, then the world.
But seriously though, if Disney managed to buy DC Comics, like, do you know how strong?
There you go, look at that. I got an exceptional rare fiery broadsword. Basically.
Yeah, what I was mentioning before. The different colored equipment, depending on the rarity, I think it's something that has been taken from some mobile F2P games in general, what I mean. The fact that you gain loot that is colored depending on the rarity. Even some other AAA games like Horizon Zero Dawn, like I noticed, also do that.
Very
I think
good.
even I think even the recent God of War does that.
All
or
right,
even Breath of the
sorry.
Wild. Well, go ahead.
All right, everybody. In the next part, we finish chapter 1. So, see you then.
See ya.
See ya.
See ya.